What is up, everybody? Positive Philly here with another episode of Positive Philly Interviews. It has been so long since I've sat down and done an episode of Positive Philly Interviews. I think the last one was in March, so it's been quite a few months, but we're back, hopefully week to week, with interviews of a variety of different people, not even in sports. I just love talking to people in general, and we are in the middle of the Flyers season, and today we are joined by Chris Maher of Maher Media. Let's bring him on. Here we go. What's up, Chris?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course, thank you so much for coming on. Let's get right
Yeah,
into
no
it.
problem.
I don't want to waste any time here.
Sure.
First question: what is Maher Media and how did it start?
Yeah, so Mayor Media is a multimedia company that covers the Philadelphia Flyers and the NHL. Myself and Paul Jackson, we both kind of came together and they had some different ideas. And me and Paul have been friends for a couple of years. And a couple of years ago, we this is the summer of 23. Basically, the whole idea was if I don't know if anyone knows the previous stuff that I did, but I was doing YouTube for a while, and I was doing different kinds of YouTube videos, game recaps, breaking on the Flyers and things like that. And one of the best things that I wanted to do was try to expand and try to go from there. And in the summer of 22, and like kind of towards the end of the off season, and that was around when the Flyers were one of the worst seasons in team history and all that. And I was looking to try to expand and kind of see what I could do. And unfortunately, life kind of got in the way, and school and everything. I was still at Temple at the time, and I was like, all right, well, let me push this back one more year. So I waited that next year. It was the first year of Tortorella and all that. And I was like, all right, well, let's start it this year. They just draft Michkov and all that. So me and Paul, I knew Paul a little bit. He was running his Flyers Instagram called Philly Season. And I was like, hey, I always enjoyed what Paul did. And he actually applied to be part of the first part of the company, the people that I was kind of bringing in. And before that fell through, and I was like, hey, me and him were kind of talking around the draft lottery that year. And I was like, hey, I got this big idea. I kind of wanted to start it with you. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. And ever since we kind of expanded. So as of right now, it's a full multimedia company. We have different brands and different types of content that we do. We have 2 podcasts. And we also have a few different social media brands. We're starting a ball hockey brand will start in January. A couple different things on social media called PHI Heritage, which is all Flyers history. PHI Pipeline, which is just Flyers prospects. I do a show with Mike Knubel every Friday at noon. And so it's just a big multimedia company that has a bunch of different different ways of getting content out there. And obviously, I see your videos a lot, interviewing people and stuff. So it's great. And, again, I just want to say thanks for, let me come on and talk about it too.
Of course, yeah. I've been a Philly sports my whole life. Flyers.
Sure.
I've become a bigger hockey fan over the years. I will say, it wasn't one of the sports I played, but I've definitely become a bigger Flyers fan over the years. And watching you, following you, I've been following you for many years, and I love and admire what you do with the Philadelphia Flyers. So that's why I wanted to
appreciate it.
bring you on. This thing is so shaky. I gotta figure out how to put it on my desk. When do you see the Flyers winning their next Stanley Cup? Michkov is here now from Russia. Jetlachenko was on the team. We dropped him down to the minors, but hopefully he'll be able to come back soon. And him and Michkov will click together. This is a young team, a lot of talent, but what do we have to do to be able to win the Stanley Cup? I'm not expecting it this year. I'm expecting playoffs this year. But when do you think we can realistically win the next Stanley Cup?
It's tough to tell. It's obviously the pretty big question, right? Is when is the team finally gonna be that next Flyers team that gets over the hump? If I'm being honest with you, I have no idea. It's really hard to tell. It's so hard in hockey to figure out, hey, this team could win this year.
They genuinely say it's one of the hardest championships trophies to win.
It is. I think it's the hardest one in sports. I mean, you see a lot of teams that will have great regular seasons and kind of falter out in the playoffs. And It's one of those things when you look at Boston, who just fired their coach, Jim Montgomery. I believe it was the first year he was there. They were the best regular season team in the NHL in history, and they lose and had a 3-1 lead, lost in Game 7 to the Panthers. So it all just comes from can you? I mean, you need a lot to go right with winning the cup, and you need goaltending. You need depth. You need good defense. Like special teams has to be good. You need stars too. And the Flyers, they have one who's coming in Mitchkov, like you mentioned. But outside of the probably past, I'd say maybe like 5-10 years, there's probably only been a few teams that have genuinely been able to win a cup just off of like full drafting and then also adding in free agents and things like that too. Like it's tough. So I mean, I think the biggest thing is just try to build
Right.
yourself into a contender, build yourself into a team that can compete for the playoffs every year. And really, I think it's just you just got to make the playoffs and then see what happens. I really don't think it's like obviously the game has changed. But I will say I do think it's still a lot of like you just kind of have to make the playoffs. So I think it's like build a team that can get you there first, and then kind of go from there.
Right. Yeah, I don't want it to be like the Phillies, where like we're in the postseason, we go to the NLCS, then we lose, and we lose the World Series. Like obviously the Phillies window is closing soon, the Flyers
Sure.
window is kind of just opening, but you don't want to have that uh issue where you're in the playoffs and then you can't go anywhere. I really do think we can make the playoffs this year. It's just a matter of how far we can go.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think the biggest thing with the playoffs this year is if they were to get in, they need a lot of things to kind of go right. Some
A
of them
lot, yeah,
have,
honestly.
not a ton have. You've had some decent moments in terms of like leading scorers like Konechny. I mean, he's been great. Travis Sanheim, he's playing like a number one defenseman. They have some guys hurt
Hmm.
right now. Looks like Cam York will be coming back tomorrow. So there are some guys that are banged up a little bit in terms of like the actual defense and things like that. Like they definitely have some work. Goaltending has been a little iffy. Urson's been banged up. They finally started to get some goaltending a little bit. Power play has improved. Penalty kills top 5 in the league. So they definitely have more depth than they did in years past, but they just don't have enough high offensive talent. And I think if they were to get in the playoffs, they'd have to start scoring.
They would
They'd
struggle
also
with that.
have, yeah, for sure. I mean, the 5-on-5, they're not the best team. They like last year they broke records in terms of shots on goal and things like that. And for some reason it's not clicking. I mean, they have 7 goals from their centers this year, from all centers combined, and one of them is a Couturier hat trick. So if you take that game out where Coots isn't on fire, that's 4 goals from your center. That's not good
Right, that
enough.
was
So
like the game a few weeks ago, the 7-4 game over the Wild or something, I think.
yeah, that was October 26th. So I mean that's that's about a month now. So and you've only gotten 3 since. So it's what I mean. So you're
Yeah,
really kind of struggling to get some goals from your centers, and then obviously watching hockey down the middle is a big strength. So it's one of the things that you definitely need to make the playoffs for sure.
I mean, it's good that we're struggling now with it being early in the season, but I'd say come like midwinter, February, March, if we're still making these mistakes, we're going to struggle. We're going to struggle
Yeah, no,
down
I
the
mean,
line.
and that's kind of what it is. I mean, they're a rebuilding team. Like you don't expect them to really do much. I mean, they're just kind of in the middle of they're just trying to find their way. I mean, Tort says it a lot. It's not one of the things. I mean, I'm not a huge Torts guy, but when you do look at some of the things, I think there are some good things that he does. I don't agree with a good chunk of them, but that's a different conversation. Um, I just think this year is kind of a year where everyone kind of saw last year is like, oh, this team can make the playoffs, and now everybody wants it so bad because there's just no patience left because they've been bad for so long, and B, they've been in a rebuild for a couple of years, and it's a hard thing to swallow because you're kind of hoping that you can get in and make some noise, but it it certainly does. I mean, I don't think they'll make the playoffs.
Okay,
I'd love them to make
just
the playoffs. It would be
of
great.
course, of course.
But in a year where you got 6 picks, 3 firsts, 3 seconds, it would be nice if you could maybe kind of go from there and
Yep.
and see what happens in terms of the draft and things like that too. But hey, you never know.
Yeah, non-Flyers question. I want your opinion on this. Boston Bruins head coach fired. Are you, Montgomery? Are you surprised by that or no?
Uh no, not really. I mean, I think with the way Boston was playing, and I think with um just like their kind of roster make. I mean, they had a lot of issues going into this year. Like they went from the like I said, like the best regular season team. They lose in the playoffs, and they have a
Pasternak's
pretty
getting
good
older, right?
regular season. Yeah, he is, but I mean, he's still one of the elite players in the league. You have last year where they lose to Florida in the second round, and this year was a big year. Boston's a team that everyone always looks at. They always have good starts. They're like the Bruins are just like one of the model franchises in the NHL.
Right.
They always have been, and I think when you look at a team like that struggled out of the gate in terms of the summer and everything with Olmark and Swayman, and then they trade Olmark before they sign Swayman, and all this shit comes out with the contract and everything, and it just really rubbed people the wrong way, I think. And then they had that start, and it was like, oh my god, this could not be getting any worse. And and then last year was the 100th anniversary season, so like they've always been in the news for everything, and they don't necessarily tend to take losing and things like that lightly. Like they have to make a move, and it's just one of those things where Montgomery's going to get picked up by somebody. It's how it happened.
Yeah,
It's
I have a
how the
friend who is
NHL is.
pretty close with him, and he's told me he's going to get picked up by another team or
Yeah,
something like
he's
that.
going to he's going to be hired very quickly. Um, it wouldn't shock me if he was hired by the end of the season. Um, So I mean, I don't know. It's I don't watch the Bruins every night, so I don't know all the little
Right.
details
Obviously,
about
I
their
don't either.
games and things like that. But in terms of Montgomery, they just something had to change there, and usually the easiest thing is just to fire the head coach. So
Yeah, that's usually how it is in any sport. Favorite Flyers player of all time? Who would it be?
mine's Jake Voracek.
Okay.
Always been a pretty
Why?
big Jake guy. I grew up in the era of the Giroux, Voracek, Simmons,
Okay.
Gostisbehere. I'm 21, so
Okay.
when I look at the Flyers in the past probably 10 years, I started watching in 12, 13, so last lockout season, 48 game season, and Jake was always one of those guys that I just loved. Like I grew up playing street hockey. I never had the balance or anything like that to skate, so I always played street, and one of the things that Jake was always really good at was just like the way he would cover the puck in the corners, the way he would cycle in the corner and use his body and use his core strength and hips and all that. And it was one of the things that I was always good at because I was like at that age I was taller than everybody, so I kind of just like enjoyed watching Jake because of that. And yeah, I mean he was good, he was fast, he could score. I mean he was never a huge 30 goal guy, but he could give you at least 20 a year. Elite on the power play. I've actually been able to have a little bit of a friendship with him since he's moved on too. So
Oh, well, okay, that's
it's
awesome.
been great. Yeah, it's been great, and he's a super. I mean, literally one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. Really, really nice human being, and he's unfortunately he had a lot of stuff going on towards the end with concussions and things like that too. But he's a great dude, and wish him nothing but the best in post career and all that too.
Yeah. He's still with Columbus or no?
No, he's retired.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought he did. I just wasn't sure. But yeah, obviously no. Columbus. There is a big game coming up with them that I think the entire NHL is going to be watching. It's going to be the what is it, December 4th, the Flames versus the Blue Jackets.
I think so. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, Johnny Gaudreau's two teams. Obviously, tragic thing
Right.
over the summer, but we won't really get into that. How did you become not only a big Flyers fan but a big hockey fan in general?
Um, I don't think anyone's ever asked me that. I think
There we go. I'm
I,
the
I
first
think the
one.
biggest thing for me was just I remember like as a kid, like I always kind of liked different things. Like I was into like Legos and then like Star Wars and shit like that. I kind of would like go from like thing to thing. You know what I mean? I have
But
would like
hockey's
something
kind of
for like
just
maybe
always
three
been the one
months.
that has stuck around, right?
Yeah, so like I started watching. Like my buddy came over. in like we were young. It was like 2013. It was like February. First game I ever watched was February 9th, 2013.
Oh wow.
Played
So it's like
Carolina at
3 years.
home. Yeah, played Carolina at home. They won 4-3 in overtime. Briere scored the overtime winner. I'll never forget it. And my buddy came over and he was like, "Hey, the Flyers are on." And I was like, "What's that?" And we ended up putting it on, and I watched it. I knew of the Flyers a little bit, but I was like,
You weren't a
not.
fan. You didn't like
Yeah,
know anything
I
about
knew
hockey.
they were a team and all that, but I didn't know what they were. And then I was hooked, and I haven't missed a game since. And it's one of them things like for hockey for me it's just one of those like escapes. You know what I mean? Just kind of get away from life and everything in general, and just kind of watch it. I mean, it's the same thing. It's 10 guys on the ice against 2 goalies trying to put a frozen rubber biscuit into a net, and whoever does it more times than the other wins. Like it's such a sick thing. It's such a simple way of describing it, but it's so much more than that. And I just think I've just always enjoyed it. It's just one of those things that just stuck with me, and it's such a good game that I think is so underappreciated. And yeah,
I
that's
know a lot of people
probably
who
the
tell
best
me,
answer I
"Oh,
can
I
give.
can't watch the Flyers. I can watch hockey. I can't follow the puck." Like,
I never understood that. It's really not hard
I
to
mean, my
watch the
mom
puck.
tells me that, so maybe like, I
Yeah,
don't know.
I never understood that. It's there. It's don't. I mean, everyone is fighting for it. It's kind of
If you
like
see
the
a guy
ball.
with the stick, like floating a little small thing around, I mean, that's the puck. Like, it's not really hard to figure out.
Yeah,
But
I've never had a problem looking for the puck. Never.
yeah.
I never understood that. But
Uh, but yeah, we had you on now. I met Riley Cote at the Flyers home opener when I was hanging out with the Nasty Knuckles podcast.
nice.
So I'm hoping to have him on next. So we have a Flyers reporter, Flyers content creator, now we have a Flyers player on next. Hopefully
Nice.
we'll see. Where can people find you at?
Yeah, so we are on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook. Um, all the main stuff is just through Mayor Media Co. on Twitter. And then we have a link tree on there. You can just find everything. I would go all through the accounts, but I don't want to bore everybody.
Yeah,
But in terms of, just like the main stuff is all through Mayor Media. We have articles on the website. Like I said, I do the show at my Canoodle. A lot of different stuff. So again, we always have different content coming, and thanks for letting me come on and talk. I appreciate
of
it.
course. Hopefully, I hope you're on. I hope the Flyers can make the playoffs at the end of the season, but we'll have to see. And maybe we could,
I hope I'm wrong too,
link
dude.
up at a game this year, do some content, or do a play-by-play or whatever.
Sure, yeah, it'd be great.
But yeah, man. Chris Mayer of Mayor Media, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go Flyers. Thank you. Come on. If I can get the outro to play.